Any guess, please? I'm basically postgraduate in structural engineering from IIT Madras, and I'm also a graduate in civil engineering from JNTU Kakinada. And I'm now 40 years civil engineer. Okay. So 86 passed out, and I started this company Satyavadi Projects in 94. So we have been providing services for multidisciplinary projects up to even 1600 crore, 2000 crore single project actually. So I'll share my experiences connected to today's topic, that is DPR preparation and project costing, appraisal. That is the main theme of my presentation today. And anytime, if you have any questions during my presentation also, you can ask. We need not wait for the end because we'll be in the same context and I'll be able to answer more relevantly actually. And I thank Engineering Staff College for giving me this opportunity. And this is my 35th year of being a faculty here, visiting faculty to Engineering Staff College since 91. I train engineers in power transmission and steel building construction actually. So, with your permission, I will start my presentation. Sure. And the overview of my topic is general introduction to DPR preparation. Estimates, what are the types of estimates, the stages of estimate that we do, preliminary estimate, detailed estimate, plinth area, volumetric base, and the supplementary estimates wherever there is a change of scope, and field investigation, which is a very, very important part of any DPR preparation actually. And I also covered on CVC regulations for engineering estimates. What mainly the other cost affecting aspects in any project actually. What are all the aspects that affect the cost and other regulations for engineering estimates. Like other than CVC, we have then we do projects funded by World Bank, ADB. That also I'll be covering some of the aspects because we did the projects funded by NABARD or ADB or World Bank also. So I'll just touch upon that in a brief way. So this is my presentation today, what I'll cover. And DPR preparation, actually, it is a very, very important part of any project. We all know once the government decides, any department or ministry decides to implement a particular project with a certain budget allocation. We all know that budget allocation to project commissioning, the average time as per 12th Planning Commission report is 5 years. That's the average. That is the average. We have seen some projects going beyond 20 years. We have seen some projects, we implemented certain projects in 12 months, 6 months also. So this is the thing, when we are preparing initial budgeting estimate, we have to keep in mind what is the possibility or probability of completing the project within the time envisaged, and what are the precautions that we have to take to make it happen within the timeline that is envisaged. So what are the steps we have to take? That, in fact, only a proper consultant with expertise can give that. Because I'll share my experiences where we have done the projects without any variation in the cost. Some projects, zero variation, not even 0.1% actually. And we have completed certain projects within the time given, that is 6 months in 6 months exactly. We have done some projects private though, 60 days and 30 days. That means 61st day, the project is utilized for the purpose intended. So like that, we plan, we execute, we deliver the projects. And certain projects like 30 months, long duration in challenging locations also. So what we do is, when we work as consultant, in fact, there is a wrong perception among departments or ministries that consultants do wrong DPR. That's not correct, actually. If the right consultant, I'll be sharing that as we move forward. The right consultant with the right expertise will make it happen. That's my experience. I have been doing whatever projects we handled from my company, we delivered on time. That's why I share that experience so that if you know what to do, then you will know what not to do. So that is the very important aspect, whether it is cost control or time control or quality assurance or delivery, which encompasses all these things. I call it delivery of the project. Delivery of the project in time, at cost, with quality, and of course safety, with intended functional requirements being met in the project. So we start DPR preparation when we are asked first with the Google Earth studies nowadays. Earlier we used to call it like literature review. People used to go to libraries, collect the data on that particular location, on the availability of materials, on the climatic conditions, all this. But nowadays, thanks to technology, internet, we are able to get the maximum data through Google Earth studies and Google studies. Now AI is next, actually. AI also supports very well. In fact, though I am engineer with expertise, I first go to AI to ask what is this location for. So that if we have information, we will take right decision with right information. I don't say that many people misunderstand. Actually, when AI is there, there is the need for engineer or consultant. No, AI gives information only. It is the engineer or consultant who can take decision or interpret the data or information in a right manner for the right purpose. So next, Google Earth studies will give us the complete idea about the location, even remotest places. We have done projects in Chinese border like Neoma near Galwan Valley or QT near Chinese border in Arunachal Pradesh. So we have done all the locations, Kanyakumari down south. Right now we are doing a project in Port Blair. So how do you get the data before you go to that site? That is Google Earth. So we collect the data on climatic conditions, access, and availability of resources in that location, and the conditions of that location, geographical conditions of that location, whether it is forest or livability, habitation, all these things. We get the data, and it is followed by site visit and compulsory. In fact, I must tell you, in the same project, Arunachal Pradesh, we put a condition: contractor must visit the site, and we gave marks for that because it is difficult to reach the site also, and the best company in our country also do not reach the site. So that is the challenge. Whereas my engineers have first visited the site even before starting preparation or topographic survey or geotechnical investigation. So site visit is a very, very important thing, and we must walk through the site actually. I make the point, I myself, though I have so many people, before we take up the project, I myself feel that I should walk the site. We should cover all the boundaries to understand the condition of the site, whether it is soil condition, water table, or greenery, or levels. Everything we'll understand only when we walk through the site. We can also see some of the historic anything there at the site we have to observe, because all this, every aspect of the site is very important to consider in the planning stage itself. Otherwise, our projects will be delayed. If we miss out any information on the site, that will be detrimental to our cost, detrimental to our time, actually. So both are important. So next is the data collection. Data collection about the population there, what are the risks that can be there to the site. In one of the site, we had a labor camp. For example, we missed this, not missed, actually we planned, but still we could not avert or mitigate that risk actually. Labor camp was there, 200 people working in the project, and suddenly one night there was a stabbing incident. And whole labor camp got evacuated. But how we mitigated was we considered this risk and factored in our plan, whether it is mobilization or machinery that is required to reduce the number of labor, and machinery also. Some of the sites access. That's why I'm telling data collection access. For example, the Arunachal Pradesh, the access is limited to maximum 5 ton weight of the vehicle actually, loading on a vehicle. So we had to limit the machinery to maximum 5 tons. That means we have to take the machinery in completely knocked down condition. So we considered that. We drafted in our tender and DPR that the machinery has to be CKD. And you cannot share the machinery. Suppose we have multiple locations of the project. So we didn't allow the contractor to use single machinery for all the locations. We said you have to have, if we have 6 locations, 6 machinery sets. We drafted, and only the contractor who has that kind of machinery will be allowed to participate in the tender. So like that. So data collection about access, about rivers. We had certain rivers where there are no bridges. So we have to take the material by boat, punt, transport the vehicle by punt to cross the river and take the cross. So all these were factored in our costing as well as timeline. Next important thing, most important thing is after all this site visit, Google Earth studies and data collection, then we plan the investigation. What are all the investigations that we have to carry out? I'll give the details of the investigation as we move forward. But initially, we have to plan the investigation. So what are the investigations that are required in a project? Topographic survey. I tell you, most of the projects, the mistake or error done by people is planning topographic investigation. What should be the level grid data to be collected for a given site? As per technical thing, we can collect 10 meters, we can collect 5 meters, we can collect 1 meter grid. Now we have technology, we have DG and DGNS equipment available. With satellite, we can collect the data. With the portal station, we can collect the data. But to draft this requirement of topographic survey is very, very important part, because this covers everything, variation in the project, site condition to act. This is what you must have seen in many projects, that due to variation in the, why variation in the site condition? What is the variation between survey to project implementation? That means you have not done survey proper. If there is a variation, means the survey is not incomplete or inadequate.
The main thing, the total station.
Yeah.
If they are using that,
Yeah.
that elevation plus minus what is the state of the stator, that is clear there. So mostly failure of access is depend on the error of total station.
Exactly. So this grid interval of the survey should be decided based on the terrain of the site, actually, project site. Sometimes we are doing 500-acre project, sometimes we are doing 10,000-acre project. So because it is 10,000 acre, let it be 100-meter grid. What is 100-meter grid survey? It won't help. Actually, now it is digital survey. We have to do such a large area. We have to plan digital survey. We can model 3D digital of the site, 3D digital model of the site, including the tree plantation, everything, trees that are available in the site. And nowadays, another major aspect is NGT, National Green Tribunal, which is, in fact, which is not considered. Right now, I'm doing a project in Srinagar, Kashmir. So there, the contract, the tender is floated, contract is to be awarded, and there is a PA on the project. That means there is a failure in the DPR.
It is.
Yeah, you have not considered green tribunal requirements, environmental requirements in the DPR stage itself. That is investigation actually. Environment impact assessment or environmental studies is part of the investigation. If you have not done that, there will be PAL. If you have done it, even if there is a PAL, in the projects we have done, we got the PALs quashed actually because we had the information. We filed the information to the court on the first stage itself. So it was not admitted, the case. So this is when our technical aspects are complete and clear, considering all the aspects, we can even counter the litigation easily. So that is the planning investigation right from topographic survey to the geotechnical investigation. Next step, that is the soil condition. Some of the projects you must have seen, the contractor withholds the work for taking decision on deciding the category of the rock, whether it is soft rock, weathered rock, or hard rock. So there will be investigation, there will be studies. Then after commencement of the work, why not it done in the initial DPR itself? So, okay, I have seen in one project, when we took up the project, there was a report, geotechnical report. We found it inadequate. We again got it reinvestigated and we got more clarity. Like initially they did 5 boreholes in about 5 acres. We did about 20 boreholes in the same 5 acres. But still, because rock is something which unless you do RQD, rock quality designation, that is the test that has to be performed in the geotechnical investigation stage itself. RQD is the one which indicates the real state of rock in the site, even before we do excavation. If RQD is not done adequately, like what we did, the mistake that we did was there, we didn't do 20 boreholes RQD. We did only 3 boreholes RQD. So it was not representative of the, because it was all rock. We were excavating 20 meters deep into the soil. So 20 meters deep, you can never predict what is the profile of the rock, what is the type of rock that you have. So in the project of 900 crores, we had 25 crores deviation in the cost because of rock type. Though we did the invest, so we took a decision, no, next time onwards, we should not allow the RQD test to be limited. It should be in parallel with the, because normal.
What is the depth for RQD?
No, whatever, suppose I have 20 meters basement, the RQD should be 30 meters.
Okay.
Yeah, 10 meters beyond the minimum depth of foundation. 10 meters beyond the foundation depth. Actually, that is the any soil investigation to be done. We do it, we collect the rock sample below the rock, we do the crushing strength. Even that many people don't do it. In fact, to a bearing capacity in rocks, that is another important thing which has bearing on the cost. In one project in Hyderabad, private though, we did in Banjara Hills here, you see GVK1 Mall, you can visit that, one of the best commercial facility. There also we had 20 meters deep excavation. Basements, 5 basements for parking. So what happened was the initial soil investigation report has given a bearing capacity of 75 tons per square meter. Whereas when we started excavating, we found rock so hard, even a breaker can't break it, burner cannot break it, and we can't do blasting because of the city condition. So then I asked, we called the soil investigating agency to redo the investigation, do the RQD, give us. Then we got, you will be surprised, the bearing capacity recommended was 300 tons per square meter. Imagine the cost difference between 75 tons to 300 tons, 4 times. And There are projects where we didn't do footing also in the rock. We have just done the micropiling of the reinforcement of the columns itself. So if you don't understand through right investigation planning the strata below the ground, then you will end up with variations, delays in the projects. So that is the planning of investigation, which is very important. Next most important aspect for DPR preparation is FRD, that is functional requirement document. That is to be given by the implementing agency or department. Whoever is implementing, you know the purpose of the facility that we are building. So for that purpose, what are the functional requirements? There are statutory norms for the functional requirements, whether it is National Building Code or CPWD guidelines for what is that areas eligibility for various designations like minister. We have seen that kind of projects also where the ministers ask for their whims and fancies. Can we provide it in the project? Scales of accommodation, sorry, that is the word. Scales of accommodation, whether it is a residential project or an office project or a government, any laboratory, for all, they're all well defined. So the implementing agency has to pick up the right scales of accommodation eligibility for all the occupants of the facility that is designed. So functional requirement document, whether it is defense, whether it is administration, any department, we have this scales of accommodation defined, and we have to make proper FRD, and FRD should be input document for DPR. Because once FRD is issued by the implementing agency, there cannot be any change in that. Normally what happens is during construction also, somebody visits, oh, my room is so small, I want it to be bigger.
I want additional one, large one.
We should say that please get the FRD revised and take the onus for that. Whatever cost, time, effects that you have. We are seeing the project costs in the same 12th Planning Commission report. There was a mention that the project time, one is time exceeding the planned timeline, and cost. The project cost that is estimated at 500 crores ends up at 1,200 crores within 2 years. How it can happen? It's a serious flaw either in DPR or technical sanction or tender or contract condition. And even after that, contractor goes for arbitration. So this is the thing. I just mentioned my YouTube link. If you miss or if I have missed anything, DPR, for example, that lecture is there in YouTube about DPR. So my YouTube channel is my name only, Ponnada Surya Prakash. If you search, you'll get, there are 290 videos. And in fact, they told me whether they can share my PPT to you. Some of them asked, it seems. I said, because it is containing information related to defense projects, I don't want to share PPT directly, but it is all presentation is there. You can take screenshots of any relevant screen. I have PPT in that YouTube actually. So YouTube, I have given the links to corresponding topic, what I'm talking about. So that's what I mentioned. The presentation contains information which is not for any purpose other than training. It should not be shared or used for any other purpose. So this is the thing I'm using because I sign non-disclosure agreements with my clients. I cannot share the information related to those projects, but as a technical person, I can train using that information because we learn from society, we should give it back to the society. So with that concept, I do it. So here also, stages of costing. Costing also, I have a presentation online. So that also you can see. And so stages of costing, the first and foremost is the preliminary budgetary costing. Like as an expert or an experienced person in any department, one can know depending on the project size, project type, and nature of the project, they can give a budgetary cost. There are many methods of giving budgetary cost for the projects. There are empirical methods, there are scientific methods. So basically, we prepare a preliminary budgetary estimate and propose it as a project. Once the ministry or cabinet decides, then there will be decision to appoint DPR consultant or prepare DPR in the department. DPR is basically, people think it's an administrative sanction. Even in CVC regulation, I read that some of the projects may not be taken up after DPR. So because of that, most of the departments are appointing DPR consultants, which is very wrong according to me. A DPR, suppose some projects won't go forward after the DPR, but most of the projects will go. DPR is a serious work actually. Once DPR is prepared, unless there is a political decision, there should not be stop after DPR. So when you go forward from the DPR, the consultant who prepares DPR should be responsible for the technical sanction of the DPR sanctioned amount. That's not happening. You are having 3 consultants in most of the projects, big projects that way. You have DPR consultant, you have detailed design consultant, you have project management consultant. 3 stages. According to me, it should be all 3 same. One consultant who will prepare the DPR, who will get the technical sanction done, who will prepare the tender document, and who will implement the project with the contract conditions that are there in the tender document.
So there are 3 stages.
Yeah,
For
3 stages.
DPR, for tendering, and then execution.
Exactly. So
30, 40.
that should be called as design engineering project management consultant. DEPMC. I'm not telling newly. It is there in defense. We are doing some projects as a DEPMC consultant. It was successfully implemented. I have done projects successfully with a 1,000 crore project implemented in 30 months in a place like Arunachal Pradesh. So that is possible because I have, as a consultant, I have penalty on any variation between DPR technical sanction cost to actual final bill. Any variation, not reduction, not increase.
Yes.
For both actually. For both reduction in cost or increase in cost, consulting is
One question. In case there is an error in TCS, then
rather than technical sanction.
because that typical construction, at the time of DPR, the
Yeah.
typical construction was provided by the consultant.
Yeah,
That was separate.
yeah.
And now execution consultant is here. And
That's
he
the,
take this TCS zero.
no, but even then, actually, if the consultant is same from DPR to project implementation, he should be penalized for any drawing.
Mostly they are different.
That is the problem. Then you are not able to penalize. That's why I am suggesting there should be a single consultant for design engineering project.
So mostly COs are concerned to DPR. They are taking there was a difference in the DPR was wrong. So there is a COS.
That's why we are seeing Nitin Gadkari ji every day talking about DPR consultants doing wrong this one. See, what is there, sir? You are paying peanuts actually as a DPR consultant. I have seen in Chennai.
The consultants are quoting
Lower rate than-
low.
That's
Half of the estimate.
so why not CBC guidelines or certain state governments have procurement guidelines where the variation cannot be more than plus or minus 20%. 25% some department, 15% some department. Why don't we implement that for consultants also? Sir, you are telling less. I have seen in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, one government tender itself, one consultant quoted minus 70 lakhs. That means he will pay 70 lakhs to the department. If he is awarded. Yeah. It's a real actually. You can verify to the Tamil Nadu government. We asked the consultant, what is this? Why you are paying to the department? He said, I normally don't qualify for the project. They have qualified me, so I am paying. So next time onwards, you can know what will happen with that consultant. So this is the thing, sir. Actually, problems start from the consultant itself in the projects. It's not the consultant's mistake. In fact, I don't mention detail, but in a project where we participated in the tender, there was a pre-bid meeting called by the department. In the pre-bid meeting, they came to know that other than our firm, two firms quoted less. And they found that those firms are not honest or having integrity with the project. And the department decided to disqualify them. They had the courage to make it single tender with our firm. And we did the project delivered in time, in cost. So this is the thing, sir. Low cost is not the solution, particularly with the consultant. It will lead to problems because consultants who work for lesser fee will do work to gain later.
Okay. For the consultant, there should be a procedure for two-stage bidding. Only qualified consultant.
QCBS. QCBS, yeah, I am sharing that also. In fact, in defense only, I have convinced the head of the department to go for QCBS. And they have really made the guidelines for QCBS, experience in the similar project. Yeah, most important thing, there also again, I said there should not be any objective points. There should be subjective points. In QCBS also, most of the, I'll give you example in here on the Andhra Pradesh. It was a QCBS tender. I don't mention the names. I was the auditor for that whole project actually. So I found that in QCBS, the highest bidder was 120 crores, and next L2 was 23 crores. And what they did was QCBS, they gave 80% to technical, 20% to finance, and they have seen to it that the higher bidder got 80 points, both the finance and this, and the other bidder got 79 points. And they paid 100 crores more fee to the consultant. This is the other side. We are talking about low fee side. In QCBS can be misused this way also. So that's why what they did was 30 marks they have given for presentation. It should be a committee of 6-8 experts actually. But there are only 2 people in the technical committee. 2 people have given 30 marks to the higher bidder and 10 marks to the other bidder. So it's done. So QCBS also, it cannot be, there should not be any evaluation by objective method. It should be subjective method. In fact, I participated in certain design competitions where there is a subjective matter where they have defined the point for ventilation, even for the presentation. It's not how beautiful your building looks. It is how functional the building will be. So for the functional aspects, you can give subjective marks. That is, you can give marks for ventilation, you can give marks for space utilization, circulation efficiency, and lighting in the project. We have to show those things. So whoever gives and green points, green building rating system, what are all the points that you are proposing? Like that, even for technical presentation, there should be a subjective thing. Only probably you can give 5 marks for overall look and feel of the project, not 30 marks.
Ask for the deviation will be justified.
Yeah, that's right. Correct.
Marks for presentations are mostly given in architectural
That's
consultants,
yes. Sir.
Only showing.
not in
No, in architectural also, what I'm saying is architectural is not something artistic. Architectural also has subjective definitive points. So we should define those points before calling for tender. QCBS.
But the committee is put forward. They can give any mark.
That is the problem. Problem is,
How can anybody can challenge that?
So-
No idea.
no, you challenge the initial definition of QCDS itself, yeah.
What is the basis?
Yeah.
What is the criteria for marking?
Yeah, you don't accept any objective scoring, which is left to the whims and fancies.
For
of the
presentation, in case
individual.
they are, sir, for presentation, they are giving 30 marks. That should be elaborated.
Yeah,
1 for 2, 2 for thing, ventilation, this.
all the rest you are giving turnover, you are giving 30 marks for about 20 crores and 20 marks for 10 to 20 crores. Like that, you are giving marks. Why not for architectural?
But they told us points for conception,
That's what.
visuals, and all that, and this.
And it all goes by storytelling.
Yeah, exactly.
And ultimately, sir, I'll ask architect, when you want to evaluate architect, you ask him to show 10 projects with initial three-dimensional view prepared by architect and completed photograph of the same project. And see how many variations are there. And ask why those variations are there. Okay, he is proposing to you a beautiful three-dimensional view. But how you are sure that the same 3D will be made? So we have to ask. So like that, there can be so many subjective things, evaluation of even architect. It is experience that proves. I worked with an architect, those from Singapore, Indian only, but from Singapore. He has given a conceptual drawing. I did the project actually. He gave the conceptual drawing, and until project is finished, it is the same drawing. From concept to finishing. There is no change in column position, there is no change in staircase position, no change in anything. And when client wanted a modification in the project, because of bylaws change during the project implementation, client wanted to utilize the FAR, FSR. So he requested the architect to modify the plan. He said, already construction is on. So he said, I will not change. He said, then I will change the architect.
You can't modify the place.
Yeah. My concept was based on your briefing, initial FRD, functional requirement. I have finished my concept. I don't want to affect my concept for the sake of your greed to increase the area. You have to.
In Government of Maharashtra WRD department, we are doing quality and process selection. 70% for technical and experience, 30% for that. It is working very good.
Yeah, 70-30 is correct, sir.
Yeah.
Because you also have to give value to the cost.
Yeah.
It should not be changed. We questioned why you have changed it to 80-20.
There is one interview for 10 marks and experience 20 marks.
Oh.
Technical part.
So next DPR, and this is where we deviated actually. Not deviated, we gone in deep actually. DPR is a very, very important document. It is not just for administrative sanction. DPR should be sacrosanct until project is completed. And the consultant, whoever prepares DPR, okay, if you want to have separate consultants also, interlink them. DPR change on account of DPR mistakes or errors or omissions, you should have penalty until and keep the payment or bank guarantee, performance guarantee until project is handed over. Final bill is settled. In DEPMC, it is there. In DEPMC, even if contractor goes for arbitration, consultant is responsible. Because in arbitration, there can be points related to technical only, delays due to technical only. So their consultant should be held liable for that.
In complaints, the land and approval of design must be gone through before approval of DPR. Otherwise, that need additional funds.
Yeah, most of the contracts I'm seeing, the IIT approval is after the DPR. Because department is not sure whether it gets sanctioned or not. So that is the problem. Administrative sanction is a big thing, in any project. It's a good point what you said. In fact, DPR, once it is done, there should not be any variation in the technical.
Delaying the approval of design leads to the completion of the project beyond the stipulated period.
And variation in the cost.
Contractor demands a price escalation. Department doesn't give price escalation. Department simply allow time extension without price escalation.
That's
Okay, that leads to arbitration.
That's right. So technical sanction, this is another most important thing. I have seen departments manipulating technical sanction. So because in some of the projects, not only department, even IAS officers, actually, when I dealt with, I have come across, in fact, I had to go personally to make the presentation because my technical team was not able to convince. Because we found that the project cost is X, let us say 1,000 crores. The IAS officer was pressurizing us to bring down the DPR to 600 crores, though we know it is 1,000 crores. Because they felt that if we approve practical cost of 1,000 crores with market condition, they said that contractors will quote above that. So if I give lower, then we had to tone down our technical sanction to bring it to 600 crores. And DPR also, we brought it down to 600 crores. And he agreed, not on paper, the secretary agreed that if there is a financial FC, financial concurrence required, I will give it. Because we said if we put it to 600 crores, I have to go for FC because there is a 40%, 50% variation in the cost when the contractor quotes, which we know very well. And we both agreed unofficially. We did that. And in the process, somebody said, consultants increase DPR cost for the sake of their fee. Here, I have reduced the DPR cost for the sake of project. Because our fee is minimum of DPR and tender cost. Whichever is lower, we are paid based on that fee. But still we did it because otherwise project won't move forward. There is no go for the project. So this is the experience we have when it comes to technical sanction. But ideally, it has to be same. Of course, this is an exception actually. Not in many projects it happens. So much of variation between market rate and DSR or SSR. In fact, DSR is fine when you have market variation index in the available for that location. Some locations we don't get market variation index where we have to do the real market study and come up with the variation index. And if the department accepts that, then it's fine. So next is the tendered cost. In fact, tendered cost is should be within plus or minus 5% ideally with the technical sanction and DPR cost, projected cost. And we prepared that also. The real DPR, now coming back to DPR, can give right tendered cost only when they consider all the aspects, which I'll share as we move forward. Next is the deviations. There should not be any deviation allowed.
Technical sanction should be accorded for whole project or it should be component wise?
Whole project, sir.
Whole project.
Whole project I divided into 10 sections. For example, section 1 civil, earthwork, site clearing, and all that. Initial mobilizing, site enabling, and all that. Section 2 is civil structure, substructure, and superstructure. Section 3 is civil masonry, finishers, and all. Section 4 is E&M, electrical, mechanical. Like that, we divide.
Sub-estimates.
In the estimate. And technical sanction is separate for each section actually. And we put a condition of variation or deviation within each section, not in the overall project cost. Otherwise, technical sanction has no sanctity.
Then it should be component wise.
Yeah, component wise. Component wise.
Initially, it's
But normally, for the penalizing consultant or looking at the variation, we give per section. That means within structure, variation in columns we don't look at separately. Because steel we separate, concrete we separate, formwork we separate. So then we look at the overall structure as one component. So 10 components I'll give in the overall project. I divide it. And in that I look at the variation or deviation. Next is the,
जैसे DPR का आपने बताया कॉस्ट रिडक्शन कॉस्ट रिडक्शन करनी उसका 10 दिन में उसकी कंपनसेट हो जाएगा वो तो उससे उसकी क्वालिटी या उसकी क्वांटिटी तो नहीं पता उससे
no, it's only rate, sir. We have manipulated only the rate. See, as per DPR consultancy award, DPR should be prepared based on DSR. If we prepare as per this DPR, DSR, there is no market variation index available for that location. So my DPR cost is coming low. We prepared the DPR first with the
DSR is a scientific, what is the meaning of DSR?
schedule of trades, Delhi schedule of trades.
We are using that SOR in our
Yeah,
state.
schedule of trades. That is correct. Technical word is schedule of trades.
SOR, that is SOR.
And we have SSR in Telangana, standard schedule of trades. It's only ultimately the schedule of trades.
SOR.
Yeah.
Sir, as per your example, it's very difficult to curtail 40% project cost
Because that is the,
without compromising on the specifications.
sir, we were preparing DPR in the year 2013. And the DSR available was 2010. And for the location, there are so many restricted areas, security, access, local political demand.
You could easily omit those.
Yeah, we proposed, but they didn't want to go with the realistic cost.
Yes.
They wanted to go at a lower cost, knowingly. And it fell on us again, after the tender received, to support FC. Because no administrative officer takes responsibility. So every word, every section, we were questioned and made to commit on paper that this is what it is. Then they accepted.
So in that case,
It
tender
took
was,
6 months for FC, sir.
so that, in that case, the tender was on to what amount? 35%, 40%,
50%.
50%.
It was 50%. Yeah.
My state is Jharkhand, our market takes, but we have a very bad is big for the DSR. DSR is actually it is exaggerated rates are there.
Oh,
Yes, sir. There is a level of rate that means we call it that this is exaggerated rates that has to be compensated with actual market rate. We have very bad feeling with the DSR.
Actually, if we do everything honestly with integrity, there is no problem, sir.
Yes,
Even
sir.
DSR, if you follow, if it has exaggerated rates, the contract can come for less minus
Yes, yes.
10%, let us say, it's okay. That's good. Normally, what I see is any schedule of rates, call it DSR, SSR, or anything, the practical cost versus DSR will be about 10%. Whatever components we have incorporated, like MBS has 17%, some states have 15%, contractors profit over. That overheads component is always less compared to actual overheads, actually.
So currently, within 3 months, the cost of bitumen has raised from 52,000 to
Now-
1 lakh and
Now
4,000.
current situation is
What this PSR will do?
current situation is force majeure, sir. Current situation is force majeure. Nobody would have expected this kind of.
PSR will be applicable.
Petroleum product based rates are always high. But slow, sometimes high, that is right.
And this scheduler is every year, but they just add 10% to the existing one and then.
That is also not correct, actually.
So no practical.
I will share some of the experiences on schedule of trades prepared by department. How impractical they are, and in fact, if you want me to open up what is actually happening, in most of the projects, it has gone so bad, cabinet is taking decisions on contract conditions. Am I correct?
Yes, yes.
How many states have experienced this?
Almost all states.
So in fact, when I was in a committee auditing the about 1 lakh crores projects in the state of Andhra Pradesh. I
Sir.
know, yeah,
In project works, actually SOR is not generally followed. It is iterate tender or SBT mode. that the DPR consultant or the agency submitting the tenders, they have the independence, opportunity to quote their own rates. In the EPC mode projects, so SOR is not followed. Contractor, the agency, the bidder has the right to quote their rate as per the prepared market conditions, okay? So,
But for preparation of DPR, it's only SOR which is the basis.
no, sir, for preparation of DPRs, the rates that we have to achieve from the agency is kept vacant. Only the cost estimate
that
is
is okay.
is there,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
sir? After the getting the rates from the EPC contracts or the EPC bidders, the final administrative approval is accurate.
Sir, actually, you cannot take market variation index in the currency of the project. Only after completion of the project you can take market variation index. The contract becomes complete only after completion. Because if you say that you will revise your technical sanction and your estimate based on the EPC quote that you receive, that is wrong actually. We should only see how do we keep the, okay, EPC is a different case. I have
Not only EPC, the hybrid annuity model जो है होते हैं,
हाँ.
जो big projects, so there are ample opportunity for the bidders to quote the rates or like working conditions as per the prevalent market conditions. Because government has less restrictions on them in execution.
Okay. So far, whatever I am talking is DPR for item rate or design build or lump sum contract.
Yes.
If you talk about HAM or EPC, it's totally different DPR. But still, according to me, I have shared CBC norms, regulations for that also. As we move forward, I have collected the information.
Basic principles are almost same.
DPR
Bidding
is
process
same.
is different.
Yeah,
In HAM also, we are having cost estimate
yeah.
at the time of DPR. So cost estimate means it's an estimate.
It has to be. In fact, I have seen, sir, some of the EPC tenders which are called based on outdated or absolutely wrong basis, plinth area or volumetric rates that they have taken and called for EPC, and that EPC is not complete after 20 years also. I have seen a EPC contract where it was a tunnel actually, an irrigation canal actually, distribution canal. The tender was called and the contractor was paid in advance of 100 crores for that project. And as soon as he received advance, he wrote one letter simply saying that this site is not suitable for tunnel because of these conditions and it has to be open cast. And department could not take a decision on that and kept pending, and time lapsed by 10 years or 15 years. And then ministry asked the auditors, the contractors make a claim of 250 crores damages because of non-response from the department after receiving 100 crore against.
100 crore was
Advance.
paid or
Advance.
it was paid.
Mobilization advance.
Interest rate.
It must be interest paid.
Interest rate.
Lot of mobilization advance.
Yeah. I have seen some contracts where advance was paid with 8% interest, sir. Advance was paid with 8% interest, but contractors were not getting money even at the 8% or 15% those days. So contractors started taking contract at minus 25%. There is no limit in the department, minus 30% also. Just got the advance and sat quiet. Didn't start the project. They are enjoying the loan, free loan of 8% interest, and then go for arbitration due to department. So there are so many examples of EPC or this kind of claims. We have to be. Let's not get into that because we'll talk about the projects which are technically strong, DPR properly done, but we'll only talk about plus minus 20% variations in the DPR.
Preliminary estimate should be based on SPR.
Exactly.
Yeah.
DPR cost.
We should have.
I'll explain as we move forward. And the final cost, it should be the final certified cost, including all deviations and variations of the project. And then comes the arbitration. Arbitration also should be the responsibility of the consultant to support the department on any technical aspect. So costing methods, I'll just briefly talk about costing method. We have CPWD, we have MES, we have state, that each state has got analysis, rate analysis defined. And then we have market rates. Suppose in most of the projects, and that too in the current day scenario, 20-30% of the cost will not have SSR supported by SSR, DSR. So there we have to define how to arrive at the market rate. And it is, and any such ambiguous thing, we should only resort to FIDIC. FIDIC document, Federation of International Contractors, actually, in the construction industry particularly. FIDIC has published all the documents, yellow book, red book, orange book, like that for EPC, for HAM, for PPP. All are defined internationally accepted documents. In fact, if you go for arbitration, other than Indian laws, if there are anything that is there, FIDIC will be the base document.
Stands like
FIDIC. FIDIC.
and it stands for Federation of
International, I mean, it is a French word actually. It's basically contractors,
Yeah,
international contract. And SSR, SOR, this is what we have been talking about. And stages of costing. Stages of costing we discussed just before. That is preliminary cost or line estimate we call sometimes. Line estimate is for each section, what is the, for example, if you ask me for any building, 40-story residential building, what is the cost? I can tell for cement structure, it will be about 1,800 rupees per square feet. And finishes, it is about 1,600 rupees. And of course, subject to specification again. But we have the thumb rule or plinth area rates. CPWD has given certain plinth area rates. Normally, if it is a RCC building, as per CPWD, we have 4,000 rupees per square feet is the cost for construction of building, including E&M, finishes, and then we have to add external. Other than building, external also we have electrical, drainage, plumbing, STP, all these things, and boundary wall. We have running metal rate, and we prepare the line estimate based on that. So after the line estimate, we will only go for detailed estimate for DPR. In detailed estimate, it has to be supported by proper investigation, design, and quantities, and rate analysis. Of course, AutoCost is a software which I develop. I use it for costing, where all these are supported. I can just choose the method of costing. This for the sake of training students, I use this AutoCost for.
your company developed this AutoCost?
Yeah. Okay. I didn't market it actually. I use it internally within this. It's not for commercial reasons. Because about 30 years back, when I did a project, Excel was not so great 30 years back. You know, we used to use what is that? Lotus 1, 2, 3. Lotus 1, 2, 3. So my client, I prepared the project cost document and submit to the client. Client says, no, I want cement the stages of costing, steel stage. And then I'll come back after working for 2-3 weeks. I'll prepare, submit the report, and again I have to work for another 2 weeks to modify that data into the format he wanted. Like that 2-3 times it happened. Then I thought, no, I must have a software to present the client. Suppose you just change the format, software is done. Now you have AI. Claude, I don't know how many of you are using. Just mention what you want, it gives the report as you require. So we are so advanced now. Just feed your costing, detailed costing, and mention the way you want the report, it generates and gives. So costing reports is a very, very important thing, and the better we understand from the implementing agency what are all the requirements and prepare the costing report in the format they want. So DPR cost stage, actually. That's everybody thinks is simple or only for administrative sanction, but I want to mention about FRD, which is very important document, functional requirement document. And consultant or consultancy. Consultancy should start from DPR to arbitration, end of the project. And next comes the consultant, once he is appointed, he will go for investigation. Investigation, in fact, I missed out geological investigation for major projects, very, very important. We know our dam, Maharashtra, what is that dam?
Krishna.
No.
Koina.
Koina earthquake happened because of the lack of proper geological studies before construction of the dam. Koina earthquake. So, investigation, geological studies, environmental impact assessment, environmental studies, all are very important. And DBR, design basis report. Whatever I mentioned here, they are all like base documents. It should form the part of any audit. When you verify, you should verify from DBR to tender. What are the variations and why there are variations? Quantities from DPR to tender. Rates from DPR to tender. Why there is a variation? There is no need to vary actually. Contractor quote can vary, but not the estimate. Technical sanction cannot vary from DPR. If all these are followed, FRD, proper consultant, investigation, DPR, and the procurement norms, this is another important thing, sir. Actually, many people think that, in fact, most of the, I've seen tenders for DPR, they will mention that you have to give construction management method and the contractor pre-qualification. All that should be mentioned in DPR itself. Yeah, because they're all cost varying. Contractor, technology adopted for construction and equipment used for construction, all will determine number of labor required for the project. So procurement norms, if we don't freeze in DPR state and whatever is defined in the DPR, so the approving agency of the administrative sanction should insist on all these things and lock them. And there should not be any variation after that. You spend more time for DPR, doesn't matter. But the DPR has to be perfect. This is our recommendation actually.
Sir, what is
Most of the
the,
audit panel.
Yeah,
what are the reports which constitute DBR?
DPR.
What are the reports which?
See, I just talked about, I will explain that as we move forward. I have a real project illustration. But DBR consists of civil and structure. Civil means waterproofing, for example, or plinth protection, or reptile protection. All these are defined in DBR, whether I am going to follow them or not follow. If I follow, what are the reasons? What is the investigation backup? What is the type of foundation? What is the depth of excavation or filling I am doing? All that I define in DBR. And the structure type, column beam or wall slab system or shear wall system. All this 3D modular. Now we have so many methods of construction. And architecture. Architecture DBR is also very important. Whether I follow National Building Code standards or I have international standards for architecture. What should be the WC size? What should be the toilet size? What should be the corridor width? And fire, similarly coming to fire, elevators, mechanical, firefighting, plumbing and sanitary, electrical. What are all the standards? We have US standards, some projects, and even explosives, for example. We have BESO guidelines, that we have the CPS guidelines. Which one will follow? For explosives, the project. Or diesel storage, for example, we have a diesel. Nowadays, any project will have diesel storage. So diesel storage, what are the explosive norms you will follow? safety guidelines for those things. All this we define in DPR. And the power distribution system, power backup system. Nowadays, we have renewable energy. What are all the renewable energy that we are going to use? And now next future important now is net zero. Net zero, what are all the guidelines we follow for net zero concept? We have crossed the stage of ratings, green ratings. Now we have to substantiate with the net zero, carbon emissions and energy consumption of renewable energy.
It should have 2D.
In DPR, it should be mentioned in the DPR, in the DPR stage itself, because they are all affecting the cost.
Sir, I would like to add a point. Most of these CAGs that are audit are from the deviation in DPR, deviation cost overrun, and time overrun. Due to this DPR deviation.
I'll be covering all aspects. I was asked to cover these things. I have come with the data from my projects where I had all these deviations. From DPR to technical sanction to tender, tender to construction, after construction arbitration. Next is the technical sanction. In the technical sanction, we have to freeze schedule. Schedule of items. Schedule means schedule of items. You have schedule of rate, you know. SOR. In SOR, I define the schedule, actually, schedule of items. Like excavation, we have 20, 30 schedules actually, for excavation alone. For filling, I have 10, 20 schedules. So I must, in technical sanction, freeze that schedule, which schedule I use for this project. Will I go for 10 meters deep excavation? Will I go for 10 meters high filling? All that has to be defined in schedule. Next is the technical specification. This is also important document in technical sanction. You must insist on, in fact, the schedule, technical specification and make I use in DPR should be the same in technical sanction. Apart from this, quantities, of course, quantities and rates in technical sanction, rate will not come, but the rate influencing parameters of schedule and technical specification and make. Make means cement, for example. So which brand of cement, which grade of cement, which type of cement we use has to be defined in the technical specification for different application. For masonry, for plastering, for concrete, for foundation concrete, for water retaining structures. All we have to define. This is the technical specification. The problem that we are facing nowadays, even I am facing in my office, is cut and paste. This is the thing, and he won't even read when he is pasting. So that has to be, at least one engineer who is having the idea of the project has to read the document once completely. If he doesn't read, this kind of mistakes are happening actually. And make here, you must have come across so many schedule item description where Fast-Rock are equivalent, Ultratech are equivalent. That is, we used to use this some 30 years back.
Particularly in the electrical section.
All sections. I just gave immediately this because that came out of my mind. But this make, whatever make, 3 makes is minimum actually, as per the procurement norm. We have to specify 3 makes. Three brands.
It should be more than 1 or 2.
3 brands, sir. Because 2 can be a straight line.
One is there.
3 straight line is difficult. I told you the simple way actually. So I always, that's why 3 people, 3 tenders, that is the reason actually. So 3 makes. In 3 makes, whatever make and product number we specify should be of equivalent value, equivalent technical value, equivalent commercial value. We have to have that proof. In fact, I was made to do that in one project. I had some 2000 schedules. For all 2000, I was made to collect 3 quotations from 3 different makes. And I have to compare those 3 quotations technically and commercially. And if they are not equivalent, I have to get one more, which is equivalent, and then file it as a document. So when I am made to do it, why can't you verify whether they have done it or not? So this is the make that is important in the technical specification, technical sanction. Next is the tender, sir. Contracting. The pre-qualification of contract is the most important thing. In fact, I have seen some pre-qualification document, contractor having turnover more than 110 crores. I don't know how that 110 magic figure has come. Maybe somebody favorable to him has only 110. So, but we have the guidelines. We have CBC guidelines. We have World Bank guidelines. They are all very good actually. And public sector also, EAL kind of companies, BHEL, they have very good, in fact, with whom I work, Power Grid Corporation, BHEL, EAL, have the best procurement norms. Apart from our CBC guidelines and departments like CPWD, MES also have, NHA also have, but you have to implement them as per the guideline. Then it is good actually. So pre-qualification, in fact, in one project where I felt that the department guidelines were not adequate, I felt that I have to go more stringent than department, more stringent than CBC for that project, one particular project. Then I made a presentation in DPR itself to the client that I'll follow this pre-qualification where, you know, I introduced current network. In most of the projects, you see network.
Yes, network.
Network positive. Assets and liabilities, you should have positive. I have introduced current network. Current network is current liabilities versus current assets. Receivables, creditors, debtors. Because that time, most of the construction infra companies were going through this financial strain because of BOT projects, overdrive in BOT and all that. They are financially very weak. That means if you pay mobilization advance 10%,
It will observe.
it will be absorbed by the bank if current network is negative.
Yes.
So I have introduced this clause in the pre-qualification, current network to be positive. So what I'm trying to say is, in the tender procurement pre-qualification, we have to also collect the current situation data. In spite of that, when I wrote to 32 companies across the country to participate in my tender with that stringent PQ, because client was worried, you have put such a stringent PQ, who will quote? 20 companies participated in the tender out of 32. I have written mails to. So consultant can do so much in a project if he is committed to deliver the project. And compliances, next. In tender, compliances is about statutory compliances. The labor laws, PF, ESI, all this mostly they manipulate actually, but it is better we insist on these things because that will affect the project timelines and cost. Next is the drawings. The drawings that we provide in the tender has to be same as DPR. We should not allow good for construction, people say. Good for construction should only be a stamp and it should not be any modification in the drawing. There should not be addition of any details in GFC. In fact, consultant should be penalized if he makes change to drawing what is submitted in DPR. So why I'm mentioning this is when you audit, these are all the points. These are the points which will affect the cost, which will affect the timelines. Because any change in the drawing will lead to question RFIs.
Sir, one of them. Sir, good for construction is a word that we are using many times. So any classification there, what is the good for construction? Any criteria there?
See, in the tender, when we provide the drawing, we say this is for bidding purpose. That means it do not, because we are not sure what scope we are going to release, what scope we are going to hold. That's why we are putting only bidding. Because otherwise contractor cannot just based on letter of acceptance say start the work with those drawings. So we have to reconfirm about the, sometimes you have site handing over issues. In fact, I had a project where 20 acres was the project site. We could only hand over 16 acres after the letter of award. So 4 acres is not there. Then which will you release for construction? If the contractor uses that 4 acres drawing and says you have stopped my work, so that is the only contractual requirement. The good for construction drawing is only a contractual requirement, but not a license to change.
But it should not deviate from it.
Yeah, well, I am saying that.
That means it's the one kind of understanding.
I understand. This is to facilitate smooth implementation of the contract. That's the
That he should use good practice and we are providing the good practice.
correct. Just right. Next is contract administration. Contract administration has got many guidelines like the insurance contractor office policy. And we have these labor licenses and royalties, mining royalties, and all that, and bank performance guarantee, mobilization advance guarantee, and the site enabling, power, water, drainage, all these things we have to implement as per the contract. And the type of contracts, we have a rate contract, we have a design build contract, we have lump sum contract, we have EPC, and we have percentage tender. Some departments have. That means the rate analysis is sacrosanct in percentage tenders. Once we fix the rate, the percentage quoted has to be applied on the rate given, and there is no change in the thing. Next is the arbitration. In arbitration, delays due to, we had many projects, delays due to site handing over or neighbors encroachments into the site, even defense lands. We had the issues of site handing over and ambiguity in the contract and site conditions. Site conditions is unexpected after the, like DPR would have prepared some 3 years back, and in 3 years some changes would have happened in the site. In one of my project sites, there was a quarry actually. They converted the hillock into aggregates and they made a pyramid of aggregates actually in the site. Who will evacuate that? So these are all the change in the conditions, site condition, and the scope change in the contract that we have to avoid. Specification change. That's why I mentioned in the technical sanction, specification has to be fixed, frozen, and then contract conditions itself. Vague contract conditions. Actually, I have come across certain contract conditions which are not valid legally, though he would have signed. So he will utilize contract, knowingly sign that contract, and he will go for arbitration based on those clauses. So now project costing, I am getting into that costing methods, process, and with or without escalation. This is another thing. Mostly, some contracts specify escalation clause. As per CVC norms, the contract which has contract period more than 24 months only can have escalation clause. Some people introduce the escalation clause for 18 months, 12 months also, which is not correct.
Not only DFR say 18 months.
Pardon?
DFR, Federal Financial Rules say 18 months.
That is, but CVC is the guideline for any contract. Because if it leads to any litigation, CVC comes into picture on the department. So department better take a special permission if they are deviating from CVC.
Do state government department needs CBC clearance?
CVC, yeah, I agree. Not CVC clearance. What I'm saying is, if you follow CVC guideline, I mean, where I was protected wherever I followed CVC guideline. I go to court upholds the CVC guideline. If you follow any other guideline, financial regulation is different, sir. Contract regulation is different. Contract regulation is from CVC one. Legally valid.
Do we have to follow in state departments also?
Yeah.
State PWD study?
Yes.
Because in state government in Maharashtra, it's 12 months of price. So that should be a minimum.
No, you have to, in such case, what I am saying is you take a permission. That you are following this so that you exonerate yourself from that liability.
No, every state government issue the government for 12 or 18 months.
That's right. You mentioned that I am not following 24 months because of this.
Every state business
Installation
department
will
will
have
have
to be allowed in a CDM.
Pardon, sir?
Installation is allowed for project less than 12 months. It's allowed or not?
Not allowed.
As per-
Not allowed.
But it is allowed in India.
It is day one.
Even 3 months is allowed, it is allowed. TNC and TNCC is two clause, and it is allowed TNC.
But it is not price escalation, it is an adjustment.
It's an implied, but escalation is also there. Implied.
Sir, price escalation is an automatic right of the contractor to claim for additional cost and he will not claim for lesser cost if there is a reduction.
Okay. But we have to.
For us, we have to say, to both aspects.
No, no.
I say, it's like this.
Sir, I have done certain private projects where I have mentioned in my contract, where I know that there is a steel, for example, I use variation. Instead of going for ministry notification or ministry index declared in the website, I say that VSP or sale, I go by the price declared in the website every day, and I take quarterly price variation and price adjustment I do. It is plus or minus 5%.
Yes.
I follow that. It is accepted FIDIC clause.
Is there any CBC guidelines regarding?
CVC is
That
this.
you provide us so
That-
that we will
that's-
put it in.
I'll share that CVC guidelines I have. And the contingency is very much required for accounting for this kind of escalation or price adjustment.
The contingency for price adjustment or contingency for other.
No, I just mentioned, no, suppose I prepare DPR in the year 25 and project gets implemented in 28.
We get contingent.
That is contingent liability.
Okay. I thought it's price escalation. Okay. It's one contingency or some another contingency.
Pardon?
This is one contingency or another type of contingency.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, what only?
One contingency.
What contingency?
Yes.
That is allowed in the DPR actually. Contingency of 3% to 4% is allowed. I can add even cost and take the approval so that I can increase my project cost by that amount when I am really tendering actually.
In the era of Trump, their price adjustment and contingency both are important.
Was important. Very important.
Correct. So costing methods, for buildings, we use plinth area, as I mentioned, CPWD, MES or any projects. Volumetric, we use volumetric costing for storage tanks, water tanks, silos. We use the volumetric costing. And detailed estimate is ultimate next stage actually, after preliminary estimate and system. And supplementary costing. In supplementary costing, as per FIDIC, it should be derived rates. That means first we should attempt to arrive at a new item or supplementary item from the items quoted and derive the item. Like concrete, let us take M25 I have given in the tender, but it is required to use M40. Then I use the M30 rate and take the design mix of M30 25 and M40 and see the variation in the cement and other admixture and add the cost of cement and admixtures additional cost. That is derived rate. If there is a totally new item, then you should go for market rate analysis and also go for quotation, market quotations. For certain market quotations is allowed only for what is that certain patented items. Correct. For certain vendors don't share the technology. So you have to get quote from the vendor. You can't do the rate analysis for such items. So costing methods, we have CPWD. Each has got rate analysis different actually. So we follow, if it is CPWD work, central government, we use CPWD is the implementing agency sometime. And MES for all defense projects, we follow MES analysis method. And railways has got their railways mostly is all percentage standards they'll go for. And SSR standard schedule of rates state-wise they have defined. They come up with the documents and use. And the market rate analysis is we call LMP, that is labor, material, and plant condition. This is the three components we do. That is the bare cost, and we have overheads and profit. Overheads that have to be analyzed properly when we do the market rate analysis. So the issues that have bearing on the cost when we are doing the appraisal is the site location, site conditions, and access to the site, and the connectivity of the site. That normally the accepted thing is nearest railhead that is taken, and from there lead is added. We calculate the lead, and water availability, water cost has to be considered. It has big bearing on the cost, whether it is labor camps, drinking water, construction water, or maintenance water, and power, availability of power. Sometimes we have to create a substation for the sake of project. We have to create a power station, diesel generators and all. We do that, and we estimate the cost, which will have bearing on that. So that is where our visit to the site or collection of data, which will help in arriving at the realistic cost of these additional items. And drainage. In fact, in one project, which we did, of course, private industrial project, we had 9 months as the contract period. 9 months is the contract period. If we complete within 9 months, we had incentive also. So what I did, the project is starting in the month of July. So July means monsoon, peak of monsoon. And what I did, we first designed the drainage first for the site. Because we estimated rain, because there is no proper drainage, construction cannot progress. So client was upset. You are making us invest money on drainage, not buildings first. And then after the project commenced, when the drains were running full, client himself sent me photograph. You did a good thing. If these drains were not there, I could not have entered my site. So this is the importance of drainage also. I mean, we designed the drainage for after completion of the project, but sometimes you need the drainage even before commencement of construction. Actually. So this also we have to study and decide. Next, soil. As I mentioned, geotechnical investigation, which is very important. The soil, we also have spoil tips, we call, that means disposal of the excess surplus earth or rock, and borrow pits, we call, that is use of soil from external location. Also, we have to identify, that is part of investigation actually. Next is the topography, as I mentioned, uncharted utilities nowadays. In fact, we have a clause in the contract, uncharted utilities. Nowadays, we have facility to investigate all the utilities below ground. You can do scanning of the ground to understand if there are any buried pipelines or power lines. That we have to study. So topographic survey. In fact, I have seen some topographic drawing, survey drawing, which don't even mention power lines crossing the site. Or don't, yeah.
LIDAR is used in this property.
Yeah, correct. LIDAR. For some utilities underground.
Any other development, how to find out what is there below the
There is the LIDAR service. We have a company in Ahmedabad who are very pioneers in this.
ladder?
Yeah, LIDAR service. We get the proper report up to 10-20 meters depth, you get water all there. That is good enough actually.
And that a consultant have to contact that.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, it should be part of, you should mention that you do the topographic survey, including underground utilities.
This technique.
That's,
I think that essentially is not coming to government work currently.
yeah, correct.
How much does it cost? Data per acre or per?
Per acre, 2 lakh rupees approximately, depending on the site course condition.
And what are
Can you
the,
name the company?
I don't remember, but I have in my phone.
so what is the costing of total station?
Uh,
Total station survey, 1 kilometer, what is the per rates?
Total station, we are paying about 20,000 rupees per acre.
Per acre.
If it is small, if it
What
is
the-
big, it is 1,000 rupees.
On the roads, in term of kilometers,
I don't, I have roads. Per kilometer, that is like EPC contract, we do the
cutting, filling, all
revenue survey, all that, it is costing a lakh of.
lakh per kilometer.
Next is the raw material, even it is part of the investigation actually, availability of raw materials. Whether it is GSP, granular subbase that we use, and stone pitching, stone aggregates, sand, or fine aggregate and all that. And we also prepare a lead chart for all these materials, cement, steel. We prepare a lead chart because lead chart has a bearing on the cost. As per any SOR or SSR, we have to calculate the lead cost and the skilled workers availability. Sometimes if you don't have skilled workers available in the region, you have to create a camp and that camp cost. Most of the people miss this. I mean, what is the cost of per labor? Cost of the LELA we call labor installation and labor accommodation, labor elements. It is there in the SSR, but not adequate. Nowadays, if you see the labor laws and all, if you follow all these labor laws and create labor camp, the cost per head of labor camp is 130 rupees per day.
130 rupees per
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 day,
day.
for
Per person. We had projects where 2,000 people were there, for example. So 2,000 into 130 rupees. That is 2.6 lakhs per day. 75 lakhs per month. 12 months project is 30 crores. 40 crores. 9 crores is the cost of labor camp. Operation and maintenance, capital cost, installation and dismantling. So this is the thing. And next is the technology and mechanization. Nowadays, we have to consider which technology we are going to implement for construction. Nowadays, we have engineered formworks. Engineered formwork means design form, not a traditional steel sheets or plywood only. It is the engineered formwork will assure the dimensional accuracy and level accuracy and installation, complete installation. We need not do the verticality checks and all for the product. Next is the taxation. Taxation has become simpler thanks to GST actually. Otherwise, we used to have 10-20 taxes. We used to keep track of, and in the costing, we have to incorporate the taxation and the tax efficiency in the design. Whether you put the fabrication yard in the site or off the site, there is so much of difference. Off the site attracts the excise duty, those days. The of late, now it has become simple GST input and output rate.
But sir, excise is still there.
Excise is there. Excise is there. But not on many components. Our construction, at least we are free of excise.
For mechanical,
Mechanical, yeah. I don't go deep into that, but civil, we are very clear. We need the GST. This software, I'll not mention much about it. And cost escalation now. I'm talking about cost escalation. We have various methods. Index-based cost escalation. In some contracts, we give escalation only for fuel, like that is diesel, steel, and labor. Steel and cement, diesel, 3 components actually. So there are 3 formulas. One for the labor, one for material, and one for fuel. So three formulas we calculate based on the percentage weightage is given up to 60%. That means the idea is 60% of the project cost is controlled by these three parameters. Diesel because of the lead and cement and steel, which is almost 20-30% of the project cost. And then we have labor, which is 30% of the labor. So total 60% is the project cost. So if you give escalation, so formula is also derived based on that contribution to the project, so that overall contractor will have.
It differs from state to state.
Yeah,
In Maharashtra, we have 85%.
85%.
So nature of work, the right situation.
They are given only 85% actually good.
Yeah, that's
That is, they say 85% of the component will differ in prices and 15% will
85 multiplication is taken by deducting the contractor's profit.
exactly.
15%.
Overhead and
maybe fixed.
So basically, logically, there are different ways of looking at it. 60%, according to me, these are the three major parameters which are affected by escalation, variation in the cost. So that's why that is simplest thing actually to calculate the escalation. Next is the project duration based. I mentioned that 24 months or 12 months. You define escalation clause clearly in the contract. Whatever is the CBC guideline, suppose if there is a vigilance inquiry on that particular clause, you should be able to defend it, whether you followed CBC or any government order or anything. Next is the force measure, of course. The force measure clause is like what we are talking today, or during COVID period. It was a major, biggest force measure where most of the contracts went for claims actually, because of the labor, this one.
The force measure is the case of the beyond the capacity of man. You get that's control. Act of
God, nature, or nature.
Fuel deficiency is not an act of God.
Pardon?
Fuel deficiency is not an act of God.
Nature.
From nature.
No. Up to no.
Sir,
Force measure means
No,
beyond the
whether it
control
is
of government.
Trump or Iran cannot affect the fuel if Hormuz is not found, That is the narrow strip. Otherwise, normally you assume it will pass through freely. They are able to control because Hormuz is only 30 kilometers. Yeah, it is a natural formation.
That other deficiency
Sir,
beyond the control of government. Beyond the control of
Not only government, it is beyond control of Trump also.
Can you show the previous slide?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm saying is that you have skipped that.
Sorry. Because force measure, scope change effect, yeah, that is by the client actually. What influence that scope change has to be given there.
Yes, that should be by the client only, sir.
Yeah.
Not due to DPR.
But sir, even change in specification also constitutes change of.
That's scope, yeah. Yes. So now I'm just explaining case studies. These are all the case studies of projects that I am involved in. And Ashoka Builders is a small private project actually. This is about 22 years back. My first experience to audit one project actually. In fact, it so happened, in a private company, you have a managing director and director. And one managing director referred that audit to me to confirm that whatever cost spent on the project was right. But unfortunately, my report went against me. The one who referred, my report went against him. In fact, I was not afraid because he referred me, I am obliged to know. That's why I'm giving that example. I am not obliged to the person, I am only obliged to the project. I am obliged to the end user. This is the concept with which I work. And then I gave the report. As I gave the report, he was not willing to accept my report, the person who has referred. Then, I got a call from other director. He said, please submit your report, don't be afraid. I will accept your report. And you know, the result is I have become consultant for that company for the rest of the project. So if we work with confidence and with honesty, integrity to the project, the result will come. That is one example. Another example was Indian School of Business, the ISB. The project was initially estimated at $40 million that time. And the time period, fast track project. So because it was a fast track project, they appointed project management consultant W.S. Atkins, and they have given powers to issue project manager instruction, PMI. And they did the project. Project ended up at $55 million. And they appointed me to audit that project. I found, again, the person referred that to me, my report went against him. His decisions were not proper, or PMI giving self is wrong, like that. So I always say that we have to work when we audit, we have to audit for the sake of project or end beneficiary or end user, and not for any person, individual or department. Next is CCNP. I explained that Arunachal Pradesh project where DPR versus tender cost. There is a huge variation of 50%. Still, we have agreed to do it, though we knew or we forgot that we'll be losing our fee, but worked for the project and we delivered the project. And that helped us doing the project. It gave me so much of confidence and conviction that we could help. In fact, Arunachal Pradesh, I don't know how many of you would have traveled there. Yeah. So from Dibrugarh, we have to cross the river. Then there was no bridge also. Crossing river itself will take 1 day because 4 hours boat ride and then wait for the boat and every station, one location of 150 kilometers to reach it will take 10 hours by road. And we cannot travel in the night. So to reach 5 locations, to spend 1 hour in each location, I had to spend five days. Just to start in the morning, 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and reach by 5 o'clock, and sleep there. There is no power, no communication, no mobile, no TV, nothing, no food. Yeah, we survived in. We used to have fruits only. And when we reached that location, we used to have some rice and all, that's it. So, like that, we did the thing from such conditions. Now, a soldier or material can reach that place of 150 kilometers within half an hour, 1 hour. We created those advanced landing grounds in the border areas. We did it once. Walang, Chuting, Mechuka, Jairo, Awang, Pasigat, Alang. These are the 7 locations. And we did in one location. This is interesting thing about DPR. I must tell you, Arnab's best, he can confirm. The Vijayanagar is a place near Burma and China border. And to reach that place, you have to walk 160 kilometers.
Just walk.
There is no road. There is no road. And we were provided with airlift for our survey and investigation team. We did that. And we made the estimate that is called headloads. We have 2 ways of transporting the material to such sites. One is by elephant bag, headloads, or airlift. We did both the methods of costing actually to arrive at the project cost. If we had done that project in Hyderabad, let us say, it would have costed 60 crores. And this lift or lead cost has come to 100 crores. So total cost, we have given 160 crores. The department had a doubt about this airlift and all that. So they referred it to state PWD, Arunachal Pradesh. State PWD has given an estimate of 650 crores for that. because they are local, they know quite well, and so the department felt that there is a huge variation between two estimates, and they decided not to proceed with that. We left it. We were foreclosed that work. But after 10 years, I get a call from one brigadier in that region. Surya Prakash, you have done the DPR then. Government now wants to consider that DPR after 10 years. Can you share that DPR with us? So I shared that DPR again. I don't know what will happen, but that is the thing. The costing, because 600 crores was definitely exaggerated cost. We felt what we have given was right, in fact, with inquiries and local, there are agencies who will do the contract of shifting the material there. Elephant Band. So that is the project experience I had. We have completed that project at the initial DPR cost, increased by that initial 50%. I have both the DPRs with the market rate and with the DSR without market variation index. And we completed the project in the tendered cost without any claims or escalation. And we put the contract period 30 months. And there was an escalation clause and project the handed over in 30 months. Next is the DG map. This is also defense project, phase 2. It is a very good case study of a bad contract actually. DPR we have done, and all the contracts, we made 3 packages contract. All contracts went below 25%, minus 25%, and all contracts went for risk and cost. I hope that's why I'm sharing this example. Risk and cost you must be aware.
Yes.
Yeah. So at the risk and cost of the original contractor, I have another big example of risk and cost in Polavaram also, which is about the 5,000 crores contract escalated to 10,000 crores and all. I'll share that. So risk and cost it went.
What is risk and cost? I don't.
Yeah, risk and cost means I award contract to you, you failed to perform. So you have submitted performance guarantee and all. So at your risk and cost, we award your leftover work to another contractor. That means any increase in the cost I recover from your performance.
Like they will.
Yeah. So we encash the performance guarantee first and keep that as a deposit, as an additional thing, and then
Additional expenditure made to be complete that work. That is different.
recovered from the original contract.
Only the additional cost.
Yeah. But that went for risk and cost, went for arbitration.
Mostly they are good.
Not much, but because of the variations in the in risk and cost, preparing the tender is the challenge actually.
Yes.
How do you evaluate the balance work to be done?
From scratch.
And the major challenge was the original contractor claimed all the material advance of 5,000 tons of steel. He dumped there and went off. He took the money. And how do you collect that? It is there spread in 19 locations, that steel. So to collect that steel and bring it to the store, it costed us 30 lakhs. To evaluate the condition of the steel, quantity of the steel, and all that. So that is a good case study. In fact, RRM called for a meeting with consultants. Most of the projects, 40 packages went for risk and cost actually. That means all are bad contract. So he asked me, according to you, what went wrong in this? I first told, sir, this was not a construction contract, it was a financial contract. Because most of the contractor quoted for taking the advance, not for doing the work. So that's why there is no intent to do the project initially. That's why they didn't perform. So we have to be very careful. So my next project, that CCNEP, you know what I did? I have mentioned mobilization advance only upon mobilization, 50%. Upon commissioning and commencement, 50%. That's all. Only when I certified that this machinery, we are paying mobilization advance because contractor is mobilizing his assets to our side. So we have to pay. But without mobilizing, if you pay, and if he doesn't mobilize, what is the way to recover? Only bank guarantee. Yeah. Next is the DGMAP phase 3, government decision. This also again I am affected party. I got all the mistakes in phase 2 corrected in phase 3 by interacting with the Director General. I was very happy. We made QCBS for consultant and everything went on well. But I don't know whether I can mention or not, our finance minister, then the defense minister, felt that the cost of project is so high, they can buy flats rather than constructing in their defense land and drop the project. That time. So consultancy DPRs were made and project was not implemented. Again, we are all going for arbitration there. So it's a bad intent either from the government agency or from the implementing agency also can lead to this kind of example. Next is AP Secretariat. We are the consultant there. We made the DPR for 300 crores. But the politicians, they feel that if they announce 300 crores for a 6 lakh square feet, that means 5,000 rupees per square feet. People think it is too high. But actually, that project was planned for as a temporary secretariat. So it was designed for 8 floors. In future, they wanted to convert it into IT park. Initially, they are building only 2 floors. Politicians don't want to explain all this to public. Cost is high because they know that opposition will make a hue and cry, so they didn't want to go for. They announced 300 crores, they announced 180 crores, and made us to reduce scope. They didn't ask us to reduce the cost just like that. They removed some scope, which is very important, like STP, air conditioning, all these items they've taken away and announced DPR approved for 180 crores. That means 3,000 rupees per square feet, which is reasonable. But the project ended up at 826 crores. And beauty of God, I was appointed as an auditor against that, and I ordered vigilance inquiry against that project. So I know why it went wrong, where it went wrong, and fortunately I was out of that project after award of contract. I exited from the project.
So what was the final construction of
826 crores.
the construction cost per square feet?
Yeah, 6 lakh square feet, 400.
Initially it was 3,000. You reduced
3,000 announced.
it.
5,000 was what we have given, but ended up in 12,000 rupees square meter. Square feet or square feet.
No.
Oh, sorry, I think.
GNS is the Sterling versus open cast, I think.
That's what I explained before.
Uh,
I told you now one contract paid advance EPC, open tunnel versus open cast. And HNSS DPR, those days DPR were made with the 20,000 rupees per acre for command area development. That's all. So you have so many 6 lakh acres or 10 lakh hectares and put the DPR cost and float tender without any DPR. And all of them lasted for 20 years, projects and not completed still. And we audited them where it went wrong. We found that it is the DPR, ambiguous DPR, inadequate DPR, incomplete DPR. And you can't call it a DPR actually. In fact, I reported that in the thing. And Amravati also explained, QCBS,
Yes.
TMC consultant and all. So these are all the projects I am involved. This AP, whatever committee that was appointed, we audited about 1 lakh crores of projects in 4 months. The committee of 7 members. Of course, we couldn't go deep into the thing, but we verified the overall contract. I'll tell about the Polavaram project risk and cost and close. Polavaram project was awarded. That time, there was no qualified contractor in India for that 5,000 crores, about 15 years back. More than 15 years back. What they did, they allowed collaboration. JV. 85% foreign company, 15% local company. And foreign company was Russian. And they cannot do anything in India actually. But namesake, they were partner. And Indian company started. And obviously, when you are not eligible, you are short by 85% for the project implementation as per the CBC guidelines, you will not eligible. But you are made to execute the project. And they failed to execute the project. And project terminated. And it has to go for risk and cost. They encashed the performance bank guarantee of 750 crores. And risk and cost tenders were called. There were 5 bidders. And there was a meeting between Chief Minister and Minister. And they decided not to open the tenders. Because they were afraid if they open the tender, the cost will go up. So they thought that they will implement departmentally that project and appointed an agency by nomination. And that agency was given work with the department support, impressed money given by the government. Impressed money every month, 150 crores. Impressed per month. And SC was made to sign the checks. And their contractor will give an instruction, pay 12 crores for this equipment to this company, and the SC will pay that money. And as an auditor, should I uphold that contract, or is it a contract, or should I cancel?
Interest cannot be going to agency. It is not a contract. It's a government contract.
So we said that there is no contract, and this agency is not a contractor, there is no performance guarantee, and you are paying money to that agency without any contract. And
How
hence,
in place was given by contractor?
pardon?
So how the in place was given by contractor?
Interest was not given to the contractor, it was with the department. Department keeps the interest, and contractors give instruction to pay, and the department pays.
Before executing work or
On-
after executing?
To whom
Before
it was
them.
paid, sir?
Even advances.
To whom, sir? So just hierarchy, which post it was given? The department
What?
is there, the way what, not to whom?
Irrigation department, it was irrigation department, and the irrigation department, superintendent engineer, SC. They are not paying to the contractor, but paying to the, and what is the risk of the engineer? So, that is the, I mean, we recommended cancellation of that contract immediately. It was cancelled and re-tendered with reverse tendering, and that is. So, I'll stop here. There is a lot actually, but thanks for your interaction.
Thanks, sir.
Because, I hope I covered all the maximum details, but I have the many case studies of the projects also.
Lot of times.
In detail. Yeah, that's why I conclude now.
Can share some of the,
Pardon?
you can share some of the files or documents.
What I'll do is, I'll prune it and give you the document which can be given to you. Yeah, I'll request.
Okay, sir, on behalf of the team, we would like to thank you for wonderful experience on different types of projects, particularly on tendering and DPR registration. Thank you, sir. And we'll have breakfast, lunch.
Sir, lunch for half an hour because next faculty is coming already. So please cut short your lunch time and be here by 12.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you all.
Very nice. Thank you.
Rahul,
So,